This is where people don't understand joint locks. So it's here, here, here. Hey guys, Greg and Dave here with another technique for you. I've heard a lot about people saying in jiu-jitsu that you cannot really take wrist locks and stuff. I don't agree with this. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to do a wrist lock properly. We're going to first start with what we call a cross hand wrist lock. This is used a lot of times if I have somebody that's like, hey, come here and doing that type of stuff. When they grab you. Now it could be all the way up my arm, it could be anywhere here. The movement that we want to do is very precise. Without precision, the wrist lock will not work. This is the magic of chin up, okay? So I'm going to break this down really quickly for you today. If Dave's holding my arm solid, okay, and I start trying to lift this way, I'm going to go against resistance. So if I'm much smaller than somebody, this is not going to work. Resist a little bit. So instead of going and trying to lift my wrist this way and bringing it up like I can do if I'm 10 pounds within somebody's strength and we're training against like a jiu-jitsu weight class thing, I may be able to do this. But with somebody that's like excessively smaller, this will not work. So this first one, what you first need to do is drop the elbow below the wrist. Dave, grab both hands. He's grabbing, he's not gonna let me go. From this position, if I simply drop my elbow below his wrist, I've changed the mechanics. I can then lift. First thing of strength. Second is, if somebody's holding hard, you create movement. I use movement by either stepping back, stepping forward. As I step and do this, I now create the mechanics that make it very hard for somebody to resist. So let's start from here. We'll do the single arm grab. First thing I do, I'm going to drop my elbow below the point of the wrist, not below the hand. At the same time, I see people going here and then turning. At the same time I drop my elbow, my wrist turns. Now, I'm going to show you right here. As I go with the wrist turn, I want this hand to rotate so the back of my thumb backstops the back of his wrist. See that? So as I'm going, thanks for being relaxed. I'm going in here, I'm rolling my base of my thumb into the crook of his wrist. So he grabs, roll that. That's part one. As my elbow comes inside my wrist. When I'm saying this, that means as I'm dropping, my wrist rotates, my elbow is inside of my wrist. If my elbow is outside of my wrist, and I do this, he can push my elbow away just with this simple hand movement, okay? So just right here, he can force my elbow past my body and collapse me. If my elbow is inside of my wrist, go ahead and start to push. Yeah. Even without me establishing balance, I still have a strong base. The key is that if Dave turns his wrist up and grabs a hold of my wrist here, what we have now is sort of a linear line. If we do that, whoever traps and rolls and has more strength is going to create the better wrist lock. This is where a lot of guys get away with this, and it's BS. When we're talking about precision, when this elbow goes inside of the wrist, notice what happens. We get a T effect, not a linear line. So this is no longer, right here, it's mutual combat. When I turn this T effect with this tray, my elbow's inside, and I haven't even added a step motion, he's lost that ability to really twist in his forearm. From here, I'm going to go from that tray position, hook the base of my wrist into the crook of his wrist. Once I've got that, I'm going to snake in, and then I'm going to go over, point towards his shoulder, and direct him where I want him to go. So I'll break this down really quick so you can see this. Elbow goes in, okay? The thumb goes over top. My other side of my wrist rotates to catch the crook of his wrist. And then I'm going to redirect as though I'm pointing right at that shoulder. Now I can step or I can just pivot my hip. Once I point, I want to go as close to that shoulder as possible. If I want to give a warning, I can point at his shoe. If I really want to make it pay, I point at my shoe. So if I go here and I point at his shoe, doesn't take much. If I point at my shoe, he really feels this, okay? This is just the basics. Stay with me. All right, so he's grabbed. Now, what I want to do is trap at the same time. All right, notice that. Trap, roll, place this on the back. Elbows inside, wrist is on the other. I'm going towards his center line first. Trapping the hand again, so let's just look at that. As I go here, I'm going to turn the corner, either by stepping and pivoting, but what I'm going to do at the same time as I go from the tray, I'm going to hook into the crook of his wrist, and I'm going to turn the corner. This will come together for you guys. Turn the corner. The snake, though, is going to go down, and later on we could add knees and whatever we want. All right? So Dave's grabbed hold of the wrist. I'm going to trap the hand. I'm going to turn the tray. Again, that tray is not just flopping my hand. It's hooking in the crook of his wrist. Then I'm turning the other side of my wrist into the crook of his wrist. From there, I'm going to pivot so that I am pointing back at the shoulder pocket of his shoulder. I'm then going to go as close as I can to the shoulder to create that Z sort of effect, what we call a Z lock. And from there, I'm going to direct down and in. Okay, so change the angle, we're coming a little closer. So it's here, he's grabbed. I'm going to trap the hand. I'm going to snake the base of my thumb over his, which is going to fold that elbow out. I'm going to come in, I'm going to hook over. I'm then going to change my weight so I'm as close to the shoulder and point where I want to go. Very nice. Let's advance this a little more. So it's here, here, here. It's not this like you see. You know, I think if I go here, Dave grabs and he counter rolls.
To what? Pointing your shoulder?
Right. He can take me. Because if you look at our forearms, when we grab, there's a straight line coming back here. This is where people don't understand joint locks. So when it grabs, I want to trap in. Do you see that 90-degree bend? I come over, I hook my crook of my wrist now into his. I then turn, so we call a Fuchs style position right here. My elbow's inside of my wrist. I turn in, I go close to the shoulder, and I point where I want to go, and I can deliver. But as he grabs, very sneaky. Now, I haven't even put anything into this. If he resists, he's got a lock on this, okay? He just grabs. So at the moment of grab, say you're grabbing me right away, I can very easily create this painful lock, which can become a knee, which can become elbows, can become all kinds of stuff from here, all right? If he happens to get a hold, and he's holding solidly, I can still, even single, well, do a double hand. Doesn't matter if he's double hand. I can't move this way, so stop me from moving. Dave's got a lot of strength, okay? If I'm moving, if I'm trying to move, he can stop me. What do? I drop my weight. Doesn't mean I have to drop my weight this way. I can simply step back to drop my weight, step forward to change my weight position. I could even step with the other foot. It doesn't matter. I can disrupt their balance. As soon as I disrupt their balance, I disrupt their strength. So if I step back and down, easy. I'm very lazy. I go around. If I come outside the forearm, this is where I get the maximum. All right? Let's break this down. So again, 1, palm goes up, and I've got the hook of the wrist. 2, see I've got this hook? 2, the other side of the wrist turns and goes into that crook of the wrist. 3, I adjust my weight to go towards the origin which is his shoulder. 4, I go down and I gate right down through his knee to his toe, or through my knee to the toe. Either way takes them down. A good way to think of, because I can go a bunch of directions, I can go across, all kinds of ways. The only thing I can't do is grab with a level forearm, because Dave then can count it. So again, most important thing is to get that taunt out, that tray position before you go in to the trap position and down. If I do this, is where I see a lot of mistakes, where people just go up to grab, or they go halfway into a taunt out and they grab and they think they got this, and this guy's stronger, and they're like, this doesn't work. Or you go against a jiu-jitsu guy. Problem is, if I have my elbow outside me, Dave can push my elbow through me. All right? If I have my elbow inside me, Dave could try to push. I could step, regain my balance, go ahead and push. It's against my body, and I'm going to win that power base. All right? Now, if you're practicing, one of the things you guys got to watch is that if he's using strength, at first when you're practicing, start smooth, soft, because if he's holding this and you guys are practicing and I go and I use this strength, you got a broken wrist. Second of all, he's grabbing and he's giving it to me, and I go here and I get excited and I roll over top too much. He's got a broken wrist. So when you're doing this, everything of China, Jing, Shen, China is about smoothness. When he grabs, it looks like a snake. In Silam Tao, they come in, they take the taunts out. Notice how this elbow is inside. This is what we want. So this is your first thing we're turning out. Then the snake's head turns in. We don't go here and then hook and bring our elbow out here. Stay inside, hook. One more time. Inside, hook. I now have control of the Jolly Green Giant. From there, there's all kinds of different deliveries. Here, boom, here, all kinds of stuff that you guys can do. I've got it here, 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 here. You know, you've got all kinds of things you can do. So check this out, try it out. We're going to bring you a few different variations of wrist locks, because I know that a lot of MMA and a lot of jiu-jitsu guys say that we can't do wrist locks. I'm going to prove to you that you can. So check it out and test me. Anyone wants to come out, let's do it.